This is Bishop Samuel Blakes, and you're listening to Real Talk with Mary J.
Welcome to Real Talk with Mary J. Real Talk with Mary J is a social outlet for a positive outcome, and we are so excited to be celebrating Black Women's History Month all around the world. Listen, we deal with topics from ranging from social to spiritual, and I am elated to have my special guest sharing with me on today. She is the Honorable Judge Paulette Irons. Welcome, Judge Irons, to the show on today, everyone.
Well, thank you, Mary J. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure to have you. We are celebrating Black Women's History Month all over the world. And listen, I couldn't think of none other than to open up the show on today with the Honorable Judge Paulette Irons. You have impacted the community, the city of New Orleans in such a great way. And when I think of Black history, especially in our own community, you are the first person that comes to mind. So thank you for coming on the show. You've impacted my life as well in such a great way. But before we get into all of that, I want you to tell all of our listening audience all around the world exactly who you are and what you do.
Well, Mary J., currently I am I'm a civil district court judge. I sit on the civil district court bench in New Orleans. We primarily handle just money matters, car accidents, mesothelioma, slip and falls, successions, those sorts of things. I've been there 18 years.
Wow.
And that's what I do right now. And of course, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, and just kind of going with the flow right now. But I'm excited about what's happening in my life right now.
That's wonderful. You're a mother, a grandmother, a judge, a wife,
Right.
an ordained minister of the gospel.
Well,
a
that's
woman
true.
of treasure. There's so much, and I know you come from humble beginnings. And one thing that I really, really love about you is that you remain humble, even on today. With introduction, just remaining humble and modest of all of the things that you have done as it relates to where you are today. So, Judge.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to take us for just a little journey of getting to the place where you are as the Honorable Judge Paulette Irons, going through the state representative to Senate to judge. Can you give us a little glimpse of your journey and what led you to your purpose of where you are today?
Well, I originally lived in the Holly Grove, Carrollton area. And there was a seat that came up for the state representative. And, I have a large family, lots of school teachers, lots of carpenters, contractors, and so forth. And I never really was involved in politics. So that seat came up. I garnered my family together and told them I wanted to run. There were 8 people who ran. And of course, God was good and allowed me to win that seat. I stayed in the House of Representatives for a year and a half. And then at that time, we had a senator who became the mayor, which was Mark Morial. He was our senator, and that seat opened up, which he was my senator. And I decided that I wanted to run for that seat. And again, I didn't do any of this without first seeking God's direction. And the scripture he gave me, he says, hold fast to your confession of faith without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. And to me, it was like, run for that seat. I was not the choice. I didn't have any endorsements. The mayor had his own person, nice guy, but I wasn't it. But God saw fit to allow me to become the second woman in the state of Louisiana to be a state senator. And I stayed there for 11 years. And then after that, championing issues such as, teen pregnancy. was a big move for me. And just issues that women had. Sexual harassment was not as, the Me Too was not an issue then, but we were having some of those issues in the
Yeah.
Senate. And, we had to fight very, very hard just to get a resolution. But after 11 years of that, there was 2 seats on the civil district court bench that came about. And I decided I was going to try that. But prior to that, I even attempted to run for mayor. But that was not to be so. I ran third in a field of about 15. And so it was, I was unhappy about that. That was the only election I ever lost. And I've had nearly 12.
Let's talk about that for a moment. That race when you ran for mayor, were you the first African American woman to run for mayor for the city of New Orleans, or the first woman to run for mayor at that time?
I think I may have been the first. I can't tell you prior to me. I can't remember.
Because I remember the exciting time that we had throughout the city of New Orleans as it relates to politics. And it was unusual at that time to have a woman running for mayor, and I know you ran a good race, a clean race, and all of your campaign workers and everybody worked really hard. You came in very, very close to the mayor at that time, Mayor Ray Nagin. And I believe it was a runoff, right? It was a runoff.
No, it was the runoff with Pennington. But Pennington was, well, it was Mayor Nagin and Pennington. But there was a smear campaign that was executed.
Yes.
In the election, and of course I fell short by being third. But again, all things work together for good, right?
Yes.
For those who love the Lord and called according to his purpose. And so it was not to be, because remember, right after that election, maybe a year or so later, Katrina hit.
Yes.
And the city was devastated. It was just devastated. And I'm sure that God saw and knew what was going to happen and says, I'm not going to put my child in that situation where she's going to have to deal with all of this devastation, even though I have things under control.
Yes.
I don't think she needs to be bothered with that. And that's how I can justify this.
Right.
But a year or so later, the seat for the judicial seat came up, and I ran and became a judge in I think it was 2000, 2004 or something like that. But again, I've been there 18 years. And so, and I pray that I will retire there and then move on and do other things, should God give me, should that be his plan,
Yes, absolutely. I remember a lot of things that transpired during the course of you running even for judge, but leading up to judge, before Senate, and even before representative. But even the course of representative and all of that you did to impact the city of New Orleans and the programs that you incorporated for our community. You incorporated programs through a camp. You had a camp for the children in the community, where children were able to come to this wonderful camp for free. Oh my gosh, that was such a blessing. I remember you implemented jazz, tap, ballet, karate, all of the things that underprivileged kids were not afforded. And parents were so elated to have their children to be a part of this great camp under your administration. And also as it relates to housing. As a matter of fact, you were my guest speaker for Girls and Grits. We did our Girls and Grits Women of Treasure Gritty Girl brunch, and you were the keynote speaker for that brunch. I had a young lady, well, she's an elderly woman. She's an elderly, I think she's 85 now, or 80. Yeah, 80. I think she's 80. She was one of the one of the visitors at the brunch, and she came up to me afterwards and she said, Judge Irons helped me in the community. She said she was on the program that you implemented where you had people to go into the houses of the elderly, the community, and to do light work for them. They would mow their lawns and go pick up their prescriptions and go, run little errands for them. And you even had people to go into the homes of those who were disabled or those elderly people to do some light cleaning. Right. She was a part of that program. I was like, what? Yeah. And when she told me, I was really surprised, and she was so happy to be there in your presence. And she came up to me after that event to tell me that she was a part of the program, and she wanted to tell you that. So I'm telling you that now. Well, I'm not sure if she was able to share with you at that time, but
I don't remember.
We had our Girls and Grits program, Gritty Girls, get into the nitty gritty to talk about our journey and our past and all of the things that we endure as women. So we're celebrating on today Black women's history, and you're a part of that in the city of New Orleans. Of course, you are a staple in the community as a Black woman that have gone through some tests and trials and tribulations, even with smear campaigns. We know that's a part of politics, right? So we're going to leave that alone because they do what they do. And that's of course, those of us that are cheering and supporting those who are in these positions that God has given, because, the word of the Lord say God will raise up one and take down another, and he gives us these gifts, and he speaks to our hearts and tells us what season, what time, and where it is, and when the position, and when he's ready for us to go forth in it. So we do what we do, and then we're called of God, So let's talk about that, as it relates to your calling, as an ordained elder of the gospel, because I know a lot of people don't know that you are an elder of the gospel.
Well, my church family is the City of Love, and my pastors are Pastor Lester Love and Fran Love, who are just marvelous people and gifted and anointed of the Lord, and just a loving family. The church as a whole is a loving family. I've had some challenges because of the COVID, because my husband has has some challenges as well, that I have not been, able to go as much as I would like to. But I tell you, I didn't do this because I wanted to be elected, or I didn't do it without, let me say that. I didn't do it without first seeking God. I knew that the scripture that says, acknowledge him in all your ways and he'll direct your path, was strong. It's real. And I wish that a lot of the women who are listening and who are mothers to young women and to their children, God is real. This is just real. And I wish I had known this as a child. I mean, we were good churchgoers, right?
Right.
Went to church. We went to vacation Bible school, went to Baptist Training Union, went to Sunday school, you went to church. Church was your social outlet, right?
Yes.
Exactly. We didn't have no country club. We didn't go to here. We didn't go that. They didn't believe in you spending the night or anything. But church was one of those places you went. But that's what it was. It was social. And they taught us, but we didn't realize it was real, that God, it was about a real relationship. I mean, you might ask, God, can I, I'm praying for a new pair of patent leather shoes, because you only got white in some springtime and black at Christmas, right? And you just wanted some new shoes. You didn't want no hand-me-down. But it just wasn't real. And it wasn't until you are an adult that you really realize that this is a relationship, right? The man is real. And it's like, hey, his word is there as a guide. And so I acknowledged him, and I would say to him, I want to do this, but if it's not your will. And I'm telling you, that didn't just come. That took time. It took we keep doing the same stupid stuff over and over and over, and we expect a different outcome, right?
Right.
And they call that insanity.
Exactly.
But you got to change some things. And I tell you, one of the things that you kind of put on your list of things you might talk about was, what challenges I had. One of my challenges was self-control.
That's
And
good.
I lacked it. As a child growing up, we was, my brother and I were latchkey kids, and that was before the word was even coined. My mother worked 2 jobs, my dad worked. We had to keep ourselves. So you pretty much raised yourself, right?
Yes.
You don't know. And guess who your advisors were? Other kids who were in similar situations. You don't know anything. So here we got a bunch of blind people walking down the street, right? And so there was a tendency to be picked on.
Yeah.
And so in order to back people up, right, you would raise your voice, right? You be flippant. You do all of that to back people up. And as a child, you learn that, and you take it into your adult life. You take it into your teen life. And so when you get to where you want to be, it's not acceptable behavior for you to lose control, to act foolish, to be impulsive, to do any of those things. However, it got me through teenage years, right?
Yes.
But when you become a professional, you need to change. And I
Right.
didn't know how. And so I needed that gift of the Spirit, temperance. I needed to be able to control myself. Then my career changed, right? As an advocate, it was a benefit to be boisterous, to be vocal, because you were a voice for the voiceless,
That's
right?
That's right.
And that was what a representative does. And so, you got a lot of accolades. People loved you for it and everything. But then when I moved to be a judge, you're no longer an advocate. And now you are a referee. And what does a referee look like jumping in the middle of a fight and they yelling and screaming like a clown too, right?
Right.
So you have to almost temper yourself. You got to back up and you got to say, wait a minute. You almost have to take a deep breath because it's so easy for you to get involved in that. So, I mean, that's been a challenge, and it has not come easy for me to try and learn how to behave, really. But God is good, and he gives us a spirit that kind of helps us, right? I'll tell you this. When I try not to do it and I start acting like I shouldn't act, I get tongue-tied. It's like, and I think that's the Holy Spirit saying, you shouldn't be saying anything. I know you can't help yourself, so I'm going to help you, right? So I'm going to help you. So you almost are like a babbling fool, right? You're like, and then you decide, I'm not going to say anything because that doesn't sound very good. That just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So God is, I don't want to be overly spiritual because I am taking a natural walk. My walk is natural in that what I do, but God is there. And the word says he's omnipresent, right?
Yes.
He's everywhere. And he is all powerful and he's omniscient. He knows everything. And so when I don't know things, honestly, when I am baffled, I go to him. I go to the Holy Spirit and I say, I don't know how to work this out. I've tried, I can't do it. And I'm going to tell you, one of the things I can advise your listeners is you got to wait. You got to sit back. And sometimes you just got to wait. Because sometimes doing nothing is what causes things to work. You got to wait and you got to believe that God is who he is. And that he's going to take care of. He's going to take care of what you need taken care of. One of the things he's told me is if you take care of my business, I'll take care of yours.
Yes.
So, I tell this story sometimes. My friend, I had something happen to me and I didn't tell anybody. And my friend came to me and she told me something that the Lord said. And I told her, I said, well, you know what? The Lord don't talk to me like he talked to you. And one day I'm driving down the interstate, right? There's nobody in the car but me and the car, right? And all of a sudden, a voice comes from nowhere. And I'm telling you, I'm not crazy. I've never been certified. The voice says, the reason I don't talk to you is because you never stop to listen.
Wow.
And I am like looking at my back seat. I'm trying to figure
Wow.
this out. And he was right. He was right. So sometimes when we pray, you got to wait.
That's right.
You got to stop. You know, he said, my sheep know my voice.
That's right.
You know, and he's going to tell you if you wait. But, you know, you pray, you get down there and you start praying. And then you start thinking about, well, I got to fix lunch. I got to get my kids dressed, you know. Oh, I got this meeting. I got that. And you get up, right?
Right.
And the Lord says, no, you got to wait so that you can hear his direction.
That's awesome. Look, I am harnessing all of what you just said. I'm taking it all in. And I mean, my mind began to reflect on so many different levels, on so many different things. First of all, coming up as a child and being reared at that time, back in the days, you pretty much said that you had to kind of fend for yourself, so to speak. You had a working mother, right? You had a mother that was doing the best she can, all that she can with the children. And back in the day, everybody, we were a village, you know. Your next door neighbor raised you, kept an eye out on you, watched for you know. But you talked about you not having temperance as a young girl, not having self-control as a young girl, and then how God just began to manifest in your life through different people, through different situations, through different trials and tribulations. And when you were saying that, I began to say, you know, God, and this is something that I've discovered even within myself. God always gives us that passion, that passion that is behind our purpose, those things that affect us. That's the thing that we harness in, and we become the person that wants to make a change, wants to provide the solution. So when you were talking, I said, wow, maybe that's why God used her to implement these programs for the community, for the children in the city of New Orleans, you know, the children in the Carrollton area, in the district where these camps were implemented. Because I'm telling you, these camps that you funded under your administration was like upscale.
Oh, yeah.
5-star, something that, you know, privileged kids only had access to, you know. Kids didn't just have piano lesson and violin lessons and karate lessons and all of the art and everything that you incorporated, and swimming lesson and dance and tap and ballet, all of these things. And so now I'm hearing your story, a little background about your story. I can imagine, because of the struggle, because of where you've come from, you felt the need that you wanted to be able to pour into the community, to give what you weren't given at that time. And that's just like God, because as a woman, and we're talking about Black women history, as a woman, as my little 13-year-old self coming up in the neighborhood of Holly Grove in Carrollton, and just seeing this beautiful woman, who, by the way, happens to be my aunt.
Conflict of interest, right?
Yeah. Just beautiful. And just in I'm talking about my 13-year-old eyes, a powerhouse, not knowing where your struggle was, not seeing where you've come from, but just this beautiful, gracious woman that is really thriving in the community. Now she's running for state representative, now Senate, now judge. And I remember at that time, so clearly that God began to birth a women's ministry in me at the time. I began to watch you and see the things that you would do. And I said to God one day, I said, God, one day I know that I'm going to impact women. And it's all because of the people that were in my path, the women that were in my path, women like yourself, women like my grandmother, you know, women like my Aunt Bertha, you know, those women that were really set an example, women like my namesake, Mary Madeline. You all don't know that's my real name, Mary Madeline, after my great aunt. that was a prestigious woman. Women like who I'll be having coming on next week, the lovely Lois Blakes, women like that, women like Pastor Deborah B. Morton, women in the community that are our examples. And so now here you are pouring into the community, giving back what was not given to you. And I'm watching this. I'm in the background watching this. I'm watching you run this race. I'm watching all of the hell that you had to go through. I'm watching all of the opposition that came up against you, and you just stood strong. If you did have a mouth, I didn't hear it. And I'm sure we all, but listen, now I said all of these obstacles and challenges, and I'm putting it on different levels, because while you're talking, and now I'm leading right where we are today, you said as a judge, you have to have temperance, right? You do. You have to have self-control. Like you said, you can't jump in the middle of a fight. And you know what I thought about? Wow, wouldn't that have been a good lesson for Will Smith to learn at the time?
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was quite unfortunate.
Absolutely.
Situation, and I don't know. I have my opinion about it, but that's neither here nor there. It's
right.
I think it was quite unfortunate. I don't like the idea of what it sends for Black people. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's a stereotype that we are violent people. And we kind of feed into it. It's just even my behavior, as if you lose control, they've said, a woman is emotional,
exactly.
And that kind of thing. And so we kind of feed into those things, but I mean, I think you want to be a better person. That's what I would want out of. If I was young and I didn't really know, I don't want to keep making the same mistake over and over. And you do. Right. You do it all the time. You make the same mistakes with your kids, and you know what the worst thing is? You got to go and apologize to your children because you act a fool, right? And, I shouldn't have said that. You know what I'm saying? Or I shouldn't have yelled at you. My little grandbaby tells me, I talk loud, right? And he'll say, you're mean to me. Well, I don't want him to think I'm mean to him, but I just say, Mimi, talk loud, But so yeah, that's Joshua. I have 6 grandboys. I have 6 grandsons, and they range from 6 to 24. That's my oldest, Daniel.
Wow.
The 24, and they're just loving people. And of course, the older ones know me because I wasn't quite delivered back when they were little, right? But I work very hard on the very small ones because I don't want my grandchildren to be afraid of me or to think that I'm mean. And it's the same thing with you don't want your coworkers to think that you're mean. I think that you can be stern, and I have to be stern because we'd never resolve it. I have to make a decision, and you can always do that with class. You can always do that with grace. Grace. They ain't gonna like you, but okay. Well, she was nice about it. At least she was nice about it. She didn't give me all the money I wanted, but she was nice about it. So, yeah.
Wow.
The Bible says, though, we should be slow to anger, right? And it is better to be slow to anger than to be mighty. And it is better to control your spirit than to take the city. And that's that is something that's hard. That's hard especially when you are a single mom, right? And you're out here and you're raising your kids and you're working so hard. You're working so hard, and your kids are acting crazy. Or somebody comes after you, or somebody kind of attacks your whole being. You're gonna go off. It's just natural, unless you just are blessed to have that kind of spirit that you can turn the other cheek. We don't turn the other cheek, and we can see that's evident in our society, right? Because every time you turn around, there's a shooting, and then a shooting for what? Because she dates somebody else, or he got a girl's number on your phone, or we just, it's just out of control. That's because people cannot control themselves, and they don't know any better, Mary. They don't know any better. They haven't been taught, and they don't know God. They don't know God. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just that they don't know.
Have the personal relationship with him.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's what it's all about. I
Yeah.
mean, I wish I was, you know, 18, 20 years old and know what I know now. You think you're very kind and saying I'm powerful. You wouldn't know. A lot more people would know how powerful I would be, because then I would know. I would really plug into God. I would plug in and say, where do I go? Where's my next step? What's my
Yeah.
next step?
At that age, right.
That's right. I mean, do I go down this path, or do I go down that path? One of the things I did, one of my biggest programs that I was statewide known for, was teen pregnancy.
Oh, yes,
But that
absolutely.
that was my biggest program, and I had that program all over the state of Louisiana, in Monroe and Shreveport, Bossier, you name it, I had it. And the state gave me the money to do that program because we had such a high rate. But I was a teen mom, and I know I learned as I learned that if kids were active, if
Mhm.
they were active, and if their parents learned how to talk to them, they were less likely to engage in risky behavior. Again, I remember I didn't have
So
that.
true. So true.
So that was one of the reasons behind, too, having children active with the camps. We'd have the baby think it over. Remember, I had the
Baby,
simulated
think it
babies,
over.
and I'd
Yes.
bring in teenage girls over the weekend, and and
Yes.
we'd give them a baby, and we'd monitor that, and um, you know,
I love
those.
that. Baby think it over for teenage moms, for those young girls who may be promiscuous or maybe considering being sexually active,
Right.
to incorporate a program where they have their own baby and the partner, and they have to take care of that baby the entire time.
That's right.
24/7, because babies don't stop just
That's
because
right.
we're tired, just because we're sleepy. They don't stop. And there, those babies that you incorporated had a sensor. Am I
Right.
correct?
They were
Where if they,
computerized.
yes,
That's right.
if they didn't hold the baby properly, if the baby head bobbled, or if the baby fell or anything, and put the baby down, the baby would start crying. And by the end of the program, these young girls and guys, because I love the fact that you incorporated partners, because it takes two to make a baby, not just one person. And at the end of the program, they would be like, "Man, I don't want no baby,"
Right.
because
And
they
we
were
we we then go
penalized.
in and read if they let the baby. Some of them would let the baby cry for an hour and a half. And we
Yeah,
could tell. And we had them. Had a sleepover, and
right.
so we all, we were all there monitoring them. And
That's
yeah, that
right.
was a really good. Katrina kind of messed that around. Messed our dolls up, and they were quite expensive, but the program was still there.
Yeah.
And so we, once I left the Senate and went to be a judge, the program kind of subsided. But it is needed. It is
It
needed. Most of
is.
the girls didn't understand. Nobody had sat down and talked to them. They were saying that if they had sex standing up, they couldn't get pregnant.
Right.
If they held the
All
quarter
sorts of
between
things.
their knees, I mean, it was just, that's because nobody talked to them about
Right.
that.
Right. I mean, and there was so much implemented. We talked about sex. There was sex, there were pregnancy, so much, incorporated even in the church. I remember you did a lock-in at a church, and I came to that lock-in at the church. I
Hmm.
think I was one of the monitors or something,
Yeah.
where the lock-in and the kids slept overnight. But there was so much training and teaching, and you don't have that these days. We don't see a lot of that. But you're so dead on when you say, when you keep a child active and involved and engaged, you do have less crime in the community, because they're being educated and they're being engaged with other peers, to learn more and to do more and to grow.
Well,
So
they're
that,
gonna learn, right? They're gonna learn,
right.
and the thing is whether or not what you teach them. What we're
Right.
seeing is that, again, the incident with the lady whose arm was severed and she was carjacked not long
Oh my
ago.
gosh.
There were
Yes.
3 15-year-olds and an 18-year-old, right? 3 15-year-old girls and an 18-year-old boy. And
Mhm.
I mean, how do you go along with that?
Mhm.
I can't see you, but I guess let me see.
I'm still here.
Okay.
I can still hear you and see you.
All right, but I don't know how to get back to you. Let's see,
That's okay.
Joanne.
Just stay right there and keep talking. You're on, and I can see you and hear you.
Okay, well,
I know
good.
your phone probably shifted it
Yeah,
somewhere else.
some scam likely
Yeah,
foolishness. But
right.
how do you get in a car with 3 other people and not hear this lady screaming and not stop?
Mm,
Who
mm,
tell who you know, but again, that's who you listen to. That's
mhm.
who you listen to is who you with, and that's that they didn't learn a really good lesson, right?
Right.
So I don't know. I just think that we have to do more things with it. And on top of that, how do we know what our children like? We also did tennis, but we didn't have a
That's
lot of
right.
people to engage in that. I paid for tennis lessons at City Park, and lots of mothers didn't engage in that. But you don't know. Maybe your child might have been a Venus or a Serena, right? If you
Right. That's right.
you
That's
know
right.
so it was just one of those things. I hate that, Mary, that I'm not on. But
I can
yeah.
see you, but if you need to work it out with your phone so you can see, you can do that. But I see you very clearly, and we know that things happen as technical difficulties will arise. Somebody tried to
Yeah.
call you and try to answer, but you can work out. If you can work it out with your phone and go back through and do what you have to do, you can definitely do that so you can
Well,
see
I'm
me as
I'm
well.
there. I'm on the screen now. Let your camera and mic. I'm on the
Okay.
screen, but I just don't know. Enter the studio. Let's see. There I am.
Okay.
So
All
am I?
right. You
Is that
came
my?
back into the studio. So what we're going to do, we're going to see if we can take one of these off. Let's see. Hopefully we don't remove you totally. We're going to remove one and see if I can add you here. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, I removed the other screen. Okay. So Judge, we have 10 minutes left on the air. I want the people to see this clip really, really fast. I want to show this and we'll come right back
Okay.
because you are definitely a woman of treasure. And I was inspired even with God calling me to tell me to call those that labor among me and go outside of the walls of the church and get to know them one on one. But I remember under your administration and just watching you, um,
I go off, Mary, again. Okay, there I am.
yeah,
Go ahead.
watching you and sharing with you some of the things that I saw you do. Just let's take a look at this and we'll be right back.
Okay.
There is a rare gem, a precious existence, a phenomenon when women can take painful experiences that may have repeatedly occurred to them and yet produce remarkable qualities. Treasures for the world to admire. They produce beauty from ashes, pearls from pressure, diamonds from disdain. Who are these distinguished women of treasure? They are the women who summon the strength to get out of bed and selflessly give their best every day, who are self-aware enough to acknowledge and receive healing for the brokenness within themselves, who have learned to love and appreciate themselves and know their worth, who have made peace with a tumultuous past and know it's okay that they can't go back and change it, who decide to still love those who have offended them and love even harder those that are given as a blessing, who decide to forgive painful, unspeakable acts that they endured, who consciously and purposefully raise their kids better than they were raised, who understand that everyone won't celebrate their victories, who decide to look back at their past only to wink and tell it you did not win, who fiercely protect those for whom their heart continues to beat, who choose their words carefully knowing the power that they hold, who have awakened the infinite song within themselves that continues to make music despite those who tried to silence it, who walk upright in the power of love, light, and beauty, and who the Creator made them to be. And these are the women who are the essence of unforgettable moments. You may never learn her name, but you won't leave her the same, because she is a woman of treasure.
A woman of treasure. That's definitely who you are. And also, for those who don't know, is the Honorable Judge, a woman of treasure, one of the founding board members of an honorary member of Women of Treasure organization that continue to give and support women all over the city of New Orleans, and especially those women of treasure. So I thank God for that. And I salute you for being such a pillar in the community and all that you have already given and continue to give even on the seat, that you represent the seat well as a Black woman. And you know, it's just admirable to see women that are in the community that come from the same place, that have never forgotten where they come from, but remain strong and still standing and still empowering others. You know, just we see people as an example, and you never know the lives that you are impacting. You never know who's watching, you never know who's listening. And so that's why I always say that we have to be the best example that we can be, you know.
Right.
The best example, because you never know who's listening, who's watching, men and women who are admiring from a distance. You know, I know so many, I was privileged to have, as I stated earlier on, those women who impacted my life as a child, you know, because as children, we're very visual, right?
Right.
We
Right.
see before we hear things. We see things and we pick up colors, you know, we pick up shapes and all of those things before we really understand what it all means. And to have those women who've been influential in my life, such as yourself, and as I stated, my grandmother, the great S.E. Irons,
Really.
as well as my mother's mom, Marion Jacob, you know, Bertha Irons, Paulette Irons, so many great women, Mary Madeline, my namesake. And if I think about, for those who don't have women in their lives, such as yourself, and those who are leaders that don't have that type of example, what path have they chosen to follow? You
Right.
know, because even in my brokenness, you know, there's things that, I mean, married early, 16 years old, pregnant and married, and auntie. I didn't switch hats. Now I'm calling you auntie.
Teeny, yeah.
Teeny. I remember when I got married at that age, very young. I was taking a ride in the car with you and my uncle Elvin. I'll forget where we were going. I think you all was taking me to the store or something to buy. I don't know. I know you gave me so many gifts for my young baby at the time, 16-year-old. I remember you saying, that's not going to work. And my little heart was just so broken, you know, but you just straightforward, right? You would ride in the car and you and Uncle Elvin were talking, and I don't know. And you was like, that's not going to work. And my little heart was broken. And Uncle Elvin was like, you don't know, it may work. And no, that's not going to work.
See, that was one of those times where self-control could have been, you know, useful, because, you know, you don't know. You should.
It didn't.
I know it didn't. You know.
Yeah,
but
it didn't work.
You know, but the women you talk about in the family were all these women who had possessed the gift of self-control. Mother, Auntie Madeline, Bertha, they never raised their voice.
Never.
They never said
heard
any,
it.
never raised their voice, never said anything bad about anybody, never did. And I mean, how could they be so calm? You know, and things were going on in the family. They never saw anything bad. And Madeline never saw anything bad.
Never.
You know,
Never.
and so it was, you know, mother, I mean, and you know, your grandmother.
Yes.
Just never said anything. And I mean, those are, you know, that's what you want to do. That's the way I want to be. I want to be that I'm calm in the storm. Yeah, there's a storm, but I'm calm there because I can't hear God's voice if I'm screaming and hollering, acting a fool, and you know. But you know, for your listeners, you know, for your advice, you know, what I'd like to say is that first of all, you got to decide you want to be different.
That's right.
You got to decide, even though you might be a good person, you could be a better person. And the objective should be, I want to be the best that I can be. Right. And so you have to decide that. You got to try something different. You got to try all kinds of things. You got to try something different. What you're doing now and you're not happy, it's not working for you because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
That's good.
So you got to send, you know, you got to do that. There's a recipe. There's a recipe in the Bible. And the recipe it doesn't change. It doesn't matter that there's social media, all kinds of social medias, that we got 1,000 channels on TV and we got all of that. The recipe in the Bible is the same. He says, my word ain't gonna never change. He said, I'm not like man that I should lie or that I would even change, right? But you got to do what the recipe says. And the recipe says you got to seek him.
Seek him first.
You got to seek him.
Yeah.
And then you got to acknowledge him and ask him. Those are very, very simple things. It's just like tithing. You could be a sinner. The recipe is this. You give 10% to God, he's gonna bless you. You ain't got to go to church. You can just give it, you know. And you got people out there who don't believe, give 90%.
Yeah.
And they are wealthy.
Blessed. That's
blessed.
right. It's the principle of the word. It's the
principle. That's exactly right. And I just wish and hope that, you know, women would be more vocal about this relationship. Those women who have those relationships with God, with Jesus, that they'd be more vocal with their children, you know. And, you know, it's hard though, Mary, if you haven't learned how to control yourself, how are you going to talk about Jesus? You know what I'm saying? Oh, she called herself. How many times did people say, well, she called herself a Christian? She a fool, right?
Right.
Because people are always looking, as you stated. They're always looking.
Always watching. Wow, this has been impactful. I am so happy that you were able to join us on today. As it relates to us celebrating Black women history, you are definitely a Black woman that is moving by leaps and bounds, impacting the community and just changing lives as well, even as it relates to your seat as judge. There's some young girl that will probably see this, you know, that aspire to be a judge or aspire to be a woman of treasure or a Christian woman or just a woman that is serving well and taking care of her family, taking care of her children, and doing all of the things that we know are the right things to do when it comes to leading our children and paving the way. So thank you for coming on.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Mary. Mary, we do still have to work with young people. We have to train young women who come behind us because we're not going to always be here, right?
That's right.
So we have to make sure that we are training some other women, young women, to come and take our place. Yeah. You know, because I don't want to do this at 100. I want somebody else with new ideas to come behind me and do better things.
That's right.
And that's what I want, like you, and you know, the things that you're doing. And so I'm just hopeful and prayerful that you continue to work very hard with your women of treasure, but let's get some more young people in here too to help move this along, right?
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much for coming on, the Honorable Judge Paulette Irons, my TD.
Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me, Mary.
Thank you for being a part.
All right.
Did you have a happy, merry Monday today?
Well, so far it's been great. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you.